it's Doris with All the Books, and I am calling this video the Great Unhaul of 2018. Yes. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, I mean, if you just joined me in the last couple months, you would think this is normal behavior. But prior to the last couple of months, I don't DNF books very often. I'm not opposed to it at all, which you will see, but I just don't do it. Maybe 2 or 3 times in a year will I DNF a book. But some of you may have noticed in July, I had a TBR fiasco in which I added 45 books to my physical TBR. Oh, yeah. So the reason that is a fiasco is because I made the goal in January of maintaining the current level of my physical TBR. So I started the year with 236 books on my physical TBR, and I wanted to not really go over that amount. Yes, and the reason for that, this is just like ripple effect here. The reason I set that goal was because I started my booktube channel in December of 2016. So in December of 2017, when I made this maintain your TBR shelf goal, I started out booktube with six little books on my TBR. I didn't even call it a TBR. These were just really 6 books that I had purchased and begun at some point in the last decade. You heard that right. Decade, as in 10 years, and not finished. That was it. So those 6 books in the course of 1 year went from 6 to 236. That's an accurate statement. No hyperbole involved there. I ballooned from 6 books to 236 books on my physical TBR in the space of 1 year, thanks to booktube. Yes. And like I said, or maybe I haven't said this yet, but I don't really have a problem with 236 books. You'll see in January I'll set the goal a little bit lower. I want to get it to under 200, but I don't mind having a TBR of around 200 physical unread books in my home. I'm cool with that. But last December, I did the math, and the thought of having 472 unread books in my home was frightening. That, yeah, I couldn't deal with that. I couldn't. That exponential growth rate needed to be curbed. So that's why I set the goal of maintaining my TBR, and I did really well until July, and I've been, since July, really working hard to get it back down with quite a degree of success so far. Making progress. But a new phenomenon has come out of this, which is the fine art of DNFing and unhauling books. So I think this is a limited phenomenon. I think I'm about at the end of it, and I'm going to go back to the normal 2 to 3 per year for 2019. But as we said, booktube just made me explode with book purchases. Yeah, so I got a lot of books coming in my home. I was very excited about finding books. Just the book hunt was so much fun, and I found all these new places to buy books. And two of those. The main one that most of these books have come from was the Half Price Book Outlet in Kentucky. So this place, I found this through a local friend of mine who I'm just so happy she told me about it because it's really fun to shop there. But twice a year they host a fill your bag day. So you could get this little cloth bag for $20 or a little bit bigger cloth bag for $30 and fill that whole bag. They let you fill it to overflowing, like as long as your stack is lower than the top of the handles. Yeah. So I have a bunch of books on my TBR that I just got for like 75 cents each. So, and I told myself when I got them, I gave myself this disclaimer that I didn't have to read those. Now, if I buy a book for, you know, full price, 10 bucks, 20 bucks, whatever that is, I feel obligated to myself personally to try my best to read it because that's a big investment. But these 75-cent books, I can donate them or resell them to a used bookstore and probably get my money back. So I told myself over a year ago when I purchased some of these that it was okay to get rid of them, but I haven't thus far, really. So anyway, what I'm saying is I have been reading books like fast and furious over the last 2 months to try to get my numbers back under control. And I've been enjoying it. It's been fun to do that. It's not something I'd be able to maintain over an entire year, but it's been fun right now. I like those kinds of challenges, but there are a lot of books that I want to buy right now with the book awards coming out and Victober and Spookathon coming up, and fall new releases are the best of the year. So yeah, there's a lot of books coming in that I want to read. And I've just noticed at the pace that I'm reading now, I had this little light bulb moment. I had a light bulb moment. And let me show you these books that are leaving my home unread, and I'll get to the light bulb moment. So in July, I DNF'd Dear Life by Alice Munro. Now this was what I would call a natural DNF. I started it. I had no agenda about my reading at that point in time. I didn't realize, you know, that I had gotten 45 books that month at this point in time. I just was reading it and realized that it wasn't the book for me. It's a great book, but I just don't particularly care for contemporary stories focused on relationships and issues in relationships. I will read historical fiction all day long. I will read literary fiction based on societal or environmental issues all day long. I like a little sprinkling of classics and a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of middle grades. I read a few mysteries and thrillers in the fall, things like that. But I have noticed over the course of the last year and a half since I've been on booktube that I just really don't like contemporary based on relationship issues for the most part. Like I said, if it fits into societal issues or cultural, something like that, I'm all there for it. And if it's a fluffy romance where, you know, everyone comes out smelling like roses, I'm there for that too. But, you know, this one just, I read the first 2 short stories and I was like, you know what? I don't really feel like finishing this. So I didn't. And that was like a natural DNF. So then the next month in August, this was when I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get this TBR back under control. I cannot add almost 50 new books, yeah, this year. No. So I started to try to pick up the pace and finish more books to kind of catch up with myself. I was trying to catch up to 45, but who are we kidding? Doris can't read 45 books in a month. I was trying to hit at least 30, but that didn't happen either. But I found myself reading this one. And this one was cultural. It's set in, I believe, maybe it's Chinese. Okay. And LGBTQ plus, and there was an interesting little bit about crocodiles, and I kind of liked it, but I kind of was really bored by it, and there were relationship issues, and it was angsty. Let's just say that. It was angsty, and I got tired of it, and I probably would have finished it if I was reading just at a natural pace. But since I was reading at a fast pace, I was just like, not really feeling it, and so I didn't finish it. I found out from several other people that it was kind of repetitive, so I felt like I'd gotten what I needed to from the book, and I just let it go. I then started reading, not like right away, but still in that month, A Horse Walks into a Bar by David Grossman. Again, this typically would be something I would enjoy. It's set in Israel, but I read all of those books in January. I read based on Middle Eastern, either from a Muslim or Jewish perspective, and that was a fabulous reading month, probably my favorite of the whole year. But I didn't like this one. This one was set in a comedy bar, just a stand-up comic, and he was very crass, and again, very negative and angsty. And I just felt like I'd read enough from this topic this year that I didn't have to read this one if I wasn't liking the style of the book. So I let myself DNF it. And again, I probably would have finished this book if I was reading at a slower pace. I would have just gotten through it. But, you know, since I wasn't, I didn't. And then also in August, I read The Alchemist, which I really thought I would like, but I did not. It bored me to tears, it did. I get why people like it, but the message, this is like an inspirational read, and the message just did not communicate to me at all. And the writing style I just found tremendously dull. So I finished, while I did finish this, I was so bored by it that I went on my shelves and got this one by the same author and let myself unhaul it. And again, this is one from that little 75-cent haul, so I didn't feel bad about that. This one, on the other hand, I paid top dollar for. It's gorgeous, but it's not for me. So I'm kind of realizing, you know, at this fast-paced reading that I got a lot of great books to get through, and I don't have to read books that I'm not particularly caring for if I don't want to. I mean, there's so many books out there that, you know, I can let some of them go. You know, like I said, if they've come to me free or cheap, you know, it's okay. So starting out in September, I'm in the same mindset. I'm like, I got to get this TBR down where it was. I was so proud of myself for 6 months, and then all of a sudden, boom, I messed up. So I'm still trying to recover from that. And so I went to my shelves deliberately looking for books that I thought I would DNF. Seriously, yes, I did. I went looking for all the books that I thought were potential DNFs, and I found first these two. This one is a Nobel laureate, but the book, this is a series of short stories, and it's contemporary relationship stuff. And I read the first two. I liked one. The other was okay, but I knew it was a book that I would make myself finish, and I would like it okay. And I'm like, I got a lot more of great stuff that I'm excited about to make myself finish an okay book. This one, I started, and same thing, contemporary relationship issues. And I was less than okay with this one. It was silly from the get-go. So I DNF'd both of those. Then the next week, that was the first week of the month, the next week I went to my shelves looking for some more DNFs. It's gotten to be an Easter egg hunt. So I picked up The Mapmaker's War by Ronlyn Domingue, and this one was fantasy set in kind of a Middle Eastern style, and I thought I would really like it. But I had the second, and I knew on Goodreads that this one had nice ratings, but it hadn't been read very widely. So that's kind of an indication too, you know, how many people have read it. So I started this one, I read a couple of chapters, and the whole thing is written from second person perspective. Oh my gosh. I like that writing if it's a chapter here and there for effect. It can be really done well. Human Acts by Hong Kong was great like that, as was the 5th season. But in an entire novel written in second person, I wasn't feeling it. So I DNF'd this one and unhauled the sequel. Then this one was free, a freebie that I had, and I didn't get on with his other, Tennessee Williams' other play that I read. It wasn't Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, it was the other one. I don't remember. But anyway, I tried to read this one, and relationship issues, and while it wasn't contemporary, this is more 50s, I think. I just wasn't feeling it, and there was an overtly racist comment made that really set me on edge, and I don't mind reading racist comments if they're for a purpose that unfolds later on in the story. But this one just seemed like a sign of the time. And I don't mind sign of the times either, but this one was just very, oh, it just made me roll my eyes. So anyway, I let myself DNF this one. I wasn't feeling it. So then today, I went to my shelves again. One more time, and I think this is the last time. I really do think that after this, I've gotten my shelves down to, there's nothing really that I would purge on there without making an honest attempt at reading it first. I feel like everything else is my style and things I'm excited about or interested in. But these last three, I went through those cheap books again, or free, and these are there's some that are a Goodreads rating of less than my standard. So I've mentioned this before, but I try to only pick up books that have a 3.85 rating or better on Goodreads. I will go lower than that if it's specifically recommended to me, or if it's a specific topic that I'm looking at, of a specific reason. I will definitely read it. And I don't think that books that are less than 3.85 are not worthy. I just have found that that's a really good filter for me. I don't tend to read, like, I read quite a few new releases. I was commenting on Chris Bookish Cauldron's recent video about this, but I don't read excessively of new releases. I probably read maybe 20%, I'm guessing. That's just a guess. But I think maybe 20% new releases. And the new releases that I read are things that I've got a good indication that they're going to meet my standard for the most part. I highly, highly respect people that read new releases just cold turkey. Like Books and Lala does that. A lot of people do it. and I have a great deal of respect. I feel like they're, you know, ahead of the field and taking, I told Chris, I'm like, they're taking one for the team for us. I just love reviewers that get out there and read those books and put the reviews up. So, you know, the rest of us, I think Steve mentioned this, that he really tries to help out the people. He mentioned this on a recent video on the National Book Award fiction long list, that, you know, he wants to get his reviews out there so that people that have less time to read have, you know, a better idea of judging the books that are for them. So great deal of respect for people that are riding that wave, but I'm not really one of those people. So 3.85 is a great filter for me, and like I said, I will read below that definitely, but if I don't know about a book, I've found that's a good standard for me. Now, some of these cheap books that I bought at the beginning of my booktube saga didn't meet that standard. I hadn't set that standard yet, so I found 3 more of those. There was a fourth that, I see it over there, I didn't pull it, but The Empress by Sean Na. I didn't pull that one off the shelf because it's about the first and only empress. It's historical fiction and cultural for me, and the first and only empress of China. So, I mean, of course I'm going to read that. I pulled Young Goodman Brown by Nathaniel Hawthorne. This is a short story collection, and I did start reading the first couple short stories and am totally engrossed in this, enjoying it tremendously. So it's made the cut. I pulled 3 others, however. I pulled this one, A Recipe for Bees, and I read page 112, doing the Sean the Book Maniac page 112 tag. You know, if you want to see somebody who knows how to DNF, he can teach you. And, you know, it was okay. And I read most of the first chapter, and it was okay. But I just had this revelation, you know, do I need to read 20 reviews on Goodreads and read, you know, half the book to decide that I need to make myself finish or not finish a book that's okay? I don't. I have over 236 books on my shelf that I'm excited about reading. So if it's just okay and it wasn't a big investment, I'm not obligated to read it. Let it go, Doris. Just let it go. So these other 2, I'm just not even going to try. The Burning Times, this had like a 3.42. The premise is somewhat interesting, but, you know, I'm going to want to read all 236 books on my shelf before I get to this one. If I ever want to read it, I'm sure that it'll be readily available. It's okay to put it in this stack that's, you know, toppling. And then this last one, in honor of the National Book Award Adult Literature Fiction long list that just came out, that I'm really not all that impressed with. I'm unloading this National Book Award winner. This had, I think this one was the 3.42 actually. The other one was like a 3.5 or something. Yeah, goodbye. So I have been running my mouth for 24 minutes and 10 seconds. So I better go. You know, if any of you are still listening, thanks for watching, and I will chat with you soon. Bye.